nowhere near as great as the last couple guys. I was at the very end of the 2000s. I pledged in fall of 97, graduated in December of 01. So I'm actually going to make my brother come up and talk first, because he was in from 90 to 94.
And I'm even less prepared since I just got drafted a few minutes ago. So, although I had a feeling this might happen, so I tried to think a little bit, but I didn't do a whole lot of thinking. But I guess a few things. I've heard some great stuff here, especially from Nick, stuff that I could repeat, similar things like that. Good times, a few bad times, tragic times, things like that. But it's been great to have. Thankfully, I haven't had a lot of tragic stuff, but to be able to support other guys that have been going through things in life. But anyway, to start back up as far as like initially joining Beta Sigma Psi, started with a semi-shirt tail relative of ours, second cousin once removed, I believe, by the name of Tim Holton, who's from Chicago area, and he was a senior when I was a senior in high school, and they were down visiting his grandparents Christmas my senior year, and they came over because my mom is a few years younger than his mom is, and so they were close growing up. So they were over visiting, and somehow during the conversation the evening, he got talking about it with me and my parents or whatever. So we're like, okay, we'll go check it out in February, and when we're coming back from our grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary, we go there, and was interesting, and it felt like home. And I had opportunity a couple years before that. I had stayed at LAR for a few days for that time there was a state 4-H conference that high schoolers would get invited to. So I was there for a couple of days, got a little taste of dorm life. I'm like, anything but this. So I was all interested in doing that, getting away from the dorms. So that's what pulled me in. And yeah, it was a great way for me coming from a small town, small farm, growing up a rather protected life, if you will. Extremely excited to be able to come to the great big huge University of Illinois and be here as a student and get a degree here. But it gave me a place, a smaller place to belong and be a part of, and have connections to. And being a somewhat non-social, not very good at making friends and things like that person, it was able to give me a group of guys to be friends right away and be connected. And that one thing that I will encourage you guys to do is to keep up with the guys that you're in the house with, that again, unfortunately, I haven't done so great a job with in recent years, and a few guys that I haven't had contact with for a long, long time, a couple that I got to see today, haven't seen in years, but keep up with those connections that you make, because they're great to have. So, a few things from the early 90s. We were blessed when I was started, and some of you guys, your jaws will drop to the floor when I say this. We actually had a literally almost full house of 38 guys living in. That's 2 in every room except for a couple of the rooms that are smaller there in the middle between the stairwell and the chimney. So 38 guys living in the house. Most people slept up in the open air dorm at that time yet. You guys had beds in their rooms or whatever they arranged. So that was interesting, sleeping up in the cold air dorm in the winter. Yeah, we kind of closed off the windows, but my bed was actually right next to the fire escape door, and there was a couple times there was a little snow on the floor inside the door because it didn't seal real well all the time. But we had our electric blankets and things like that, and we got through it. So that was an interesting part then. Sort of, if you want to call it, challenging thing that we had also was back at that time, at least on the second floor, we had an old fuse box that had like 6 circuits in it, and we had average about 4 rooms on a 15 amp circuit. Okay, so, and there were no air conditioners. The windows were a different style. You couldn't have a window air conditioner at that time either. So even just when you get there in August and everybody has 1 or 2 fans on in their room, a couple people have their sound systems, didn't have computers in all the rooms back then, but anyway, we would be blowing circuits left and right the first 2 weeks of school, and it was crazy. So thankfully, it was, I can't remember exactly what year it was, that we finally were able to upgrade the electrical service, replace the wiring, and get things better, because there was one point that somebody's light fixture wasn't working in their room. I took it down to check it out, and I'm like, there's no insulation on this wire. So managed to get some shrink tubing on it and keep it from shorting out, but I was like, we need to rewire this place really badly before it burns down. So that was kind of a challenge, if you will, there. Otherwise, drawing a blank on other things that I had thought of to pass along, but those were some interesting things. We did a couple of years, we did serenading to sororities, and we didn't even just go to some of the smaller ones, we went to a couple of the bigger ones, and my freshman year, we impressed one sorority so much that they asked us to perform in, I don't know if it still occurs during Mom's Day week, a T.S. Sachem performance or whatever. So that was, everybody was just tickled to death that this big sorority asked us to pair up with them to do that. Anyway, I guess that's about all I got. But it's definitely one of the greatest things that I ever did, to make connections, meet people. Oh, that was another thing. Homecoming of my freshman year. Again, being from small town or whatever, easily impressed, starstruck, whatever, if you will. At the banquet that night, after we ate or everybody's finishing or whatever, a older alum, not really that much older than I am now, when I think about it, but came up to me, and we've been going through our associate member manual and learning things, and had done past national officers and this, that, and the other. Comes up to me and says, "Hello, I'm Del Carmeyer. I grew up in Covington, about 7 miles from where you live," or whatever. And I'm just like, okay. I just learned about you because you were the past national president and you recently got the Lyman Award. So that was a really cool thing for him to come over and introduce himself. And then, of course, I find out his brother Lloyd was a member also. And his younger daughter was a year older than me in high school. We're in band and chorus. So the way you make connections to all kinds of people through our common Lutheran bond and everything is amazing. That especially if you get involved with other stuff throughout life, if you do something with, like I'm involved with our high school youth group and things like that, that, you know, there used to be a thing came out from the was just at 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, that you could connect, at one time you could connect Kevin Bacon to basically any other actor or actress in the business. I think this was 20, 30 years ago, when at this point, not anymore. But there's kind of a thing that I've decided that within, at least in my circle of LCMS, of about 3 to 4 degrees of separation between anyone and just about any other LCMS member, which is really interesting to be able to do that, make these connections. So anyway, with that, I'll let Steve give his spiel.
So yes, the
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon or Lutheran Mafia or Lutheran Bingo as you want to play. Just tonight, the Kirby's I've known for years, and then I didn't realize that he'd been working in the Missouri District with a good friend of ours from our church too. So there's always all those connections. And I mean, the multi-generational aspect, I mean, we heard from Matt, you know, we all know his dad is DJ, you know, from Homecomings of Yore, and we got the Buzzies, you know, in my case it's brothers, but we have younger and older brothers. We've got Max and Raiden over there, and so you've got these connections that persist. Our nephew is a pledge at 8th chapter now, so it's amazing, you know, having those connections over the years. When I first got out of school, moved up to McHenry, Illinois, and there was an old guy at church, he was like 85-year-old named Wally, and I got to know him. It turns out he was in the Beta Steakhouse pre-World War II. So he was here from way back in the day, and so I had some conversations with him about what it was like back then. And so just having those connections, and again, as you get involved in different ways, I mean, Kirk just told the story about me, Del Carmeyer. Okay, well, Kirk's a national president and Lindemann Award winner and stuff too. So, you know, I've gotten to see those events. One of my earliest memories, I do remember when we made that visit when he was in high school, I would have been like 11. But I also remember him dragging me up here a couple years later over the summer to do some repairs to the house. We brought Dad's portable welder and we welded the old fire escape. The worst thing was we arrived and the smell was so horrible. Now, again, there was not air conditioning in the house until recently, guys. We didn't have air conditioning. But even worse, we followed our noses to the smell, and there used to be a refrigerator in the basement. At one point, it was known as Popeye, then it was Homer, because it was written Popeye with cans of spinach, and then it was made with Homer with cans of Duff. We followed our noses to the fridge and opened it up, and someone had defrosted some meat in it apparently at some point. And then it was unplugged for a couple of months. Nothing like that would ever happen today, fellas, would it? And you would throw away that fridge or freezer really quickly if it happened, right?
Hey, I need a workbench, bro.
No, there's all kinds of fun stories. I mean, we learned to fix a lot of things in the house. That was kind of the practice run. Because in the fraternity house, you can fix things kind of shoddily and nobody really cares. You know, like I did a patch with drywall. I used the wrong thickness of drywall. There's just a bump in the hallway for a while. That way you learn to make those repairs on your trial run, and when you have your own house, you make them look nicer. That way your wife doesn't get upset when you make the repairs. So get your hands dirty, guys. Try out, learn things. Learn to use screwdrivers. Tighten things up. I had the pleasure back in January coming up here over MLK weekend and participated in activation, but also fixed a bunch of stuff and tried to teach the guys how to fix a few things. Learn those practical skills you use in the rest of your life. You know, even something as simple as changing a switch out or fixing a light bulb, stuff like that. You'll use those, so you don't have to call a repairman. But I'm proud of the fact that a little stat is never, when I was on campus during my college career, did I miss church. I always made it because I had a group of guys taking me every Sunday, no matter what. I actually missed church more when I was at home because I was in a band for a couple of years there, and I'd have gigs where I'd get home at 3 a.m. and my mom would say, "No, you're not going to church. You need to sleep because you got to drive back to Champaign in the morning." But when I was up here, I was in church because I had guys encouraging me to do that. So do it, guys. Encourage each other. Be brothers, even if it means shaking somebody and slapping them around a little bit sometimes. Getting involved in service is a big thing for me. Learning leadership skills. Some of the other guys said I had a bunch of different offices. I was recruitment chair for a year, first VP, second VP, president for a year. And some of those skills that I learned from that time period, like delegation, I still use that as an example to this day when I'm interviewing interns and such, is that I learned delegation skills as president of Big City because I wanted to do everything. I'm just that person. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to have my checklist. I'm going to accomplish it all, but I can't do it all. You've got to rely on other people to do it. And well, then your first thought is, okay, all the craft jobs, I'll get to the pledges and the undergrads and make them do everything. But I learned that you can't do that. It has to be, these are the things that I have to do, that I'm the only person that I can do. These are the things other people can do. that they're going to learn and they're going to gain experience. And so I'm going to hand out those responsibilities to those people. And that's something that to this day in my career I still use all the time. So there's lots of things like that you can learn. It's a practice run. This is your chance to learn so much. Learning to run meetings effectively. So many things that we take for granted sometimes because we were indoctrinated from a young age of how to do parliamentary procedure that a lot of people in the real world don't know. So just soak up all those experiences. Living with your brothers, you have the rest of your life to live in an apartment or a house. Live in a house as long as you can. I feel like Billy Madison stayed as long as you can. But do it. Stay in the house as long as you can and enjoy that brotherhood, that experience that you never get again. As far as the late 90s, yeah, when I got there, we had over 30 guys, and yes, we all stayed up the stairs in the dorm for the most part. I remember wearing a ski mask to sleep because it was so cold. The electric blanket, yeah, it was cold sometimes. But by the end, the numbers were getting lower, and most of us did sleep in our rooms. We went through some struggles of fighting at times. I think that happens periodically, where you go through periods of the numbers are good and everybody thinks things are great, and then sometimes you end up with splits and things aren't so great. I encourage you to work through those issues. We're all brothers, and respect your brothers, and to not make ultimatums. We have people do that kind of thing, say, if everybody doesn't shape up, I'm out of here, and leave. That doesn't really solve anything for anybody. You've got to work out the problems. So I encourage you to do that. Continuing voluntary service, involvement with church. I've been president of my congregation for 4 years. I've been on council for 6. I've been a youth leader for 10 years. And those are all serving as things that I learned through growing up and through Beta Sig, ways to be involved and to lead. And I think that's what Beta Sig does, is it raises up Christian men to be leaders in their churches. And so I'm proud of that and want to encourage that to continue. I got to meet a bunch of other Beta Sigs from other chapters of the youth gathering this summer. I serve on the shuttling team for the youth gathering, and so there were guys from other chapters as YABs, guys from Iowa State, from Rolla, from Texas A&M, and it's great to meet those guys and have that connection on a national level. I mean, Nathaniel was there serving with me as well as a gathering planner. So, and yeah, I think back to recruiting and seeing just the domino effect. I remember being at Josh Baggett's kitchen table with his folks when he was a senior in high school. I was a young alum at 24 that was supposed to be showing that he turned out okay. As an example, I didn't even have a job. I was in grad school at the time, but I guess I looked all right. It turned out okay that he joined, and then down the line, the domino effect of the others that have been recruited through him. So I'm just rambling. I will cede the rest of my time, and let's go back to before me would be, well, back to Avery, and he can go from there. Thanks, guys.